Okay. Let me get to it. All right, guys. So this is crazy. I don't know if y'all have seen this yet, but it's something I think everyone should see. This came out like a month ago, but I know it's been going on for a while. But check this out.
80% of Americans took a vaccine. 20% didn't. 20% did not take a vaccine. The vaccine was never safe enough for me to take.
Right there, he's saying it was never safe enough for him to take. Personally, for me, I'm a part of the 20% that did not take one. And that's purely because I've been pro-vaccine my whole life. And when they came out with 4 or 5 vaccines, it was something like that, in like 6-8 months, I immediately was like, how? Because all throughout school, they always say, hey, it takes 20 years to make a vaccine, or like 15 at the minimum. They had all these trials, but to me, that threw alarm bells for me.
Messenger RNA devised by Pfizer and Moderna has been chemically modified to be unassailable to enzymes in the body to be broken down. The messenger RNA is found in the human heart of people who die after the vaccine. It's found in the brain. The spike protein is found everywhere in the body. 3 studies now show the spike protein is circulating in the blood for 6 to 9 months after people take the shot. This part of the virus, the lethal part of the virus in the vaccinated, it's circulating in the blood. And then they take a booster, they get more circulating in the blood.
He just said a lot right there. Pretty much he's saying this stuff does not break down in the body and it causes inflammation. A lot of people, when the whole COVID 2020 thing was going on, people were saying this is misinformation, getting it off of Twitter, getting it off of Facebook, calling it crazy. But now scientifically, it's actually coming out to the main public. And these aren't just any yahoos. These are people who are paid a lot of money. And I think these are what, senators? Let me see. Senate, yeah. That are talking about this. So come to find out, it was all legit.
It is a killer protein. It cannot be safe. It was not safe by design. Safety trumps efficacy. We cannot tolerate false drug claims. This is in the peer-reviewed literature. This is not misinformation.
Our first witness is Dr. Peter McCulloch. Dr. McCulloch is an internist, cardiologist, and epidemiologist from Dallas, Texas. He is broadly published with over 700 citations in the National Library of Medicine.
Doubling.
He has testified multiple times in the U.S. Senate, U.S. House of Representatives, European Parliament, and many state capitals concerning public health policy. Dr. McCulloch.
Double it again.
Chairman Johnson, Ranking Member Blumenthal, subcommittee members, it's an honor to present my insights, my analysis, my clinical experience on this very important topic. The first time I testified at Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, before a word came out of my mouth, Minority Senator Gary Peters said, what America was about to hear was misinformation. I didn't even know what he was talking about. I had never heard that term before.
If anybody, well, I guess if you weren't really into politics back then, understandable. But misinformation is kind of a new thing. Like, this really started happening at the COVID time. Before then, nobody really talked about misinformation or anything of the like. It was always just fact or not fact, not misinformation. It's like a new thing that they came out with, which it's not new. As he's about to state, it's a phenomenon used by communist parties.
In academic medicine or in important deliberations. That's November 19th, 2020. What was he doing? He was using an old communist propaganda technique.
See?
He was attempting to gain leverage over me before a word ever came out of my mouth. We should never have our public servants ever try to gain leverage over anyone who is coming to Washington to help the nation on an important issue. As introduced, I'm an internist, I'm a cardiologist. I believe I'm the most published individual who's ever testified on matters related to COVID-19 in any of these hearings.
Very credible man.
I've seen and examined more patients. I've examined more data, and I'm one of the most published people on the topic in the world. And as a cardiologist, I can tell you, my role in this was to fight disease, preserve life, and above all, do no harm. Do no.
What he said was super important. He's just trying to take care of people and not do any harm. He's not trying to push an agenda, push something to make money, or for any other reason. He's just trying to actually help people. Not only that, he's very well spoken, seems super credible. Obviously, he has credentials. He's a man to be trusted and someone who's actually working good faith.
No harm. Now, the topic today is myocarditis or heart damage from the COVID-19 vaccines. I'm a cardiologist. I know the topic well. I've examined thousands of patients with this problem. Thousands. Before the pandemic, I had 2 patients
Myocarditis is heart muscle inflammation.
ever with this problem. There's 1,065 papers in the peer-reviewed literature on COVID vaccine myocarditis. So let me summarize them for you. The first one that came on my radar screen that was alarming came from Washington University in St. Louis, August 18th of 2021. The first author is Verma and colleagues. New England Journal of Medicine. 42-year-old man comes into Washington University Hospital with vaccine myocarditis. The infection is ruled out. It's the vaccine. He's in the hospital. This is one of our best hospitals in the United States. He dies 3 days after taking Moderna. They can't save him in the hospital.
Say, Dr. McCulloch, move the mic.
This is something people don't know. Vaccines have caused people to die before. This is one case he's just saying right now. Got the COVID-19 vaccine, the Moderna version, because there's 900,000 versions. Guy died 3 days later. These things do happen.
Just a little bit away from you.
Then one was reported from Korea by Choi and colleagues. This is now a younger man. Just a few days after Pfizer, he comes in the hospital. He dies within 8 hours of being in the hospital. I can tell you, I'm a cardiologist. That doesn't even happen with heart attacks. He dies within 8 hours. I examined all of the slides and the images that the Koreans had showed us. It looked like somebody took a blowtorch to that heart. It was so completely fried with inflammation. His heart was destroyed. These cases, which were widely known at the time, should have gotten everyone's attention. Everyone should have been laser focused.
He said they were widely known at the time. I had no clue that that was known at the time. And that's sickening because these people suppress the information to get their agenda, their vaccine out, which to me is just insane. Maybe it's a money grab. Maybe it's a power play. I don't know, but it's very suspicious. And that's why people don't trust the government now.
Focused on this. We should never have someone die after taking a vaccine. That's directly caused to the vaccine. Then Gill and colleagues, Connecticut, published in Archives of Pathology, 2 boys, aged 16 and 17, who die a few days after taking Pfizer. These are teenagers. They're found dead at home by their parents. They're absolutely horrified. They request an autopsy. They call in University of Michigan and University of Minnesota to look over what are they finding at autopsy. Conclusion, it's Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine myocarditis, unequivocal. These are autopsy-confirmed cases. So for all the mothers in the room, how would they feel if they found their children dead after taking a COVID-19 vaccine? This is in the peer-reviewed literature. This is not misinformation. Everyone should be paying attention to this. This is not conjecture. This is.
Imagine this is the cases we know about, but what cases do we not know about? And I always think about that because the amount of things that happen in life, only a certain amount of people report them and try to go through the proper channels. To be fair, I wouldn't know how to even go about reporting it to the proper channels. I would just be distraught and just all over the place. So you got to think it's at least 3, 10, 50 times more than what's reported.
In the peer-reviewed literature. So we started to ask ourselves, what is going on? Turns out that Pfizer and Moderna and Janssen are the genetic code for the spike protein. The spike protein is the damaging part of the virus. The spike protein is loaded into the body and it causes tremendous damage in some. Acute myocarditis appears to have some genetic predilection, and all of the vials of the vaccine are not the same. But I can tell you, I'm concerned that until the vaccines are stopped, there will be cases of acute myocarditis. And to finish, we've had 216 vaccine deaths this year alone. So if the vaccine campaign continues, we have to look at what are we getting out of it now, 4.5 years of the campaign, and how many more people will die. I'm Dr. Peter McCullough. Thank you for listening.
This is the full history of VAERS and the number of deaths being reported associated with the vaccine.
This is what's so alarming. Obviously, no matter what you take, I mean, you could eat a fucking banana, but you could take Tylenol, you could take ibuprofen, have an adverse reaction, and die. I mean, nothing is guaranteed in life. No vaccine is 100% safe. So like you see here, all of the vaccines, how many deaths have been related to it, they're there. Less than 1,000, pretty much what it looks like. Maybe like in the 500s tops. Really looks like the 100 to 200 range. But then you get to the COVID-19 vaccine. Skyrockets. That's a problem. Something was not done properly. Or it's just maybe the nature of the mRNA route. I'm not sure. But boom, almost 22,000.
Yeah, you got a couple hundred a year until 2021, and yikes, 21,725 deaths worldwide. Why? And everybody's saying, "No, this is safe and effective." The vaccine injured were being gaslit; they weren't being treated. They're still being gaslit. There is no, by the way, there is no compassion, Governor. I could fill this room with photos of people who are dead because of the COVID injection. I could fill the room. And that is being denied. It is being denied. And these people haven't been able to get help. I held an event in Milwaukee in June 2019 and 2021, and all the vaccine injured, those women, all they wanted was to be seen and heard and believed, and they are not to this day. Okay? So again, they're not the ones politicizing. They just want to be helped. They want compassionate doctors to treat them, to recognize what caused their illness, not gaslight them, not deny that it exists. But anyway, so you take a look at this chart, and they're still denying that this, nothing to see here. This is safe and this is effective.
Okay, this graph is actually insane. So this is worldwide. Ivermectin's been around 29 years. 4,600 adverse events. Now, adverse just means they had a severe allergic reaction to it, something of the nature, like to where it was bad, but they didn't die. 473 deaths. Okay, so a little bit less than 500 people over the course of pretty much 30 years. HCQ, I'm not sure what that is off top, but 38 years, almost 40 years, 4,000 deaths. Flu vaccine, 35 years, 2,700 deaths. Dexamethasone, almost 60 years. I don't even know what that is either. Let me see how informed I am. But 23,000 deaths. Given the timeline, it's not too crazy. Tylenol. All right, it's not a vaccine, but regardless, I guess it's just comparing drugs. Neither is ivermectin and all that. Okay. But anyways, Tylenol, 36,000 deaths. But then you get down to the COVID. 38,000, less than 5 years. That should spark alarm in people. I don't understand why people think it's okay. Let me go ahead and get 15 boosters. Needless to say, regardless of the deaths, which is already alarming, 1.6 million adverse events. That's mind-blowing. I would, as a doctor, as a physician, as somebody who takes care of people, why would you recommend something that's not lethal to healthy people? I had COVID. I didn't die. Yeah, it sucked. It's like getting the flu, kind of. Did not die, though. To me, it's just not right in good conscience to recommend something like this when you know there's a good potential of a bad outcome. When really, this wouldn't take you out anyways if you're healthy. You know, if you're really, really old or you have like autoimmune disease, okay, I can maybe understand. But other than that, why?
Okay, next chart. This is the current VAERS chart. 38,607 deaths reported worldwide associated with the COVID injection. And we know VAERS dramatically understates, what, by a factor of 10, 100? We know it understates it. 9,228 of those deaths are occurring on the day of vaccination, the 1 or 2 days. Okay, I know VAERS doesn't prove causation, but man, that's a correlation we should have been looking at, but they ignored and they censored. But enough of that. Dr. McCulloch, please, in my layman's terms, I just kind of laid out the harmful mechanisms of this injection. Can you and Dr. Vaughn, because I think you've both spoken to this, again, in layman's terms, talk about why this caused so much harm in so many different ways because of the biodistribution. Dr. McCulloch.
80% of Americans took a vaccine. 20% didn't. 20% did not take a vaccine. The vaccine was never safe enough for me to take. Messenger RNA, devised by Pfizer and Moderna, has been chemically modified to be unassailable to enzymes in the body to be broken down. The messenger RNA is found in the human heart of people who die after the vaccine. It's found in the brain. The spike protein is found everywhere in the body. 3 studies now show the spike protein is circulating in the blood for 6 to 9 months after people take the shot. This part of the virus, the lethal part of the virus in the vaccinated, it's circulating in the blood. And then they take a booster, they get more circulating in the blood. It is a killer protein. It cannot be safe. It was not safe by design. Safety trumps efficacy. We cannot tolerate false drug claims. And we saw a poster behind Senator Blumenthal making a false drug claim that vaccines saved millions of lives, specifically the COVID vaccine. Well, let's take a look at that. When someone signs consent for a vaccine, Senator Blumenthal, does the consent form say it's going to save their lives? Of course it doesn't. It's not on the FAQ. There's never been a prospective, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial ever showing that COVID-19 vaccine.
He just said a lot of words real quick, just that way you understand. He's just saying there has not been an actual trial, an actual study, testing whether a placebo, double-blind, just means that they don't know who got the placebo, who didn't, shows that the vaccine's actually safe and effective compared to not getting it at all. There's never been a study doing that.
Vaccines reduce mortality or hospitalization. There's not even a valid non-randomized study. Thankfully, COVID mortality went down for 3 reasons. Because we all got the infection, vaccinated and unvaccinated, so we developed population natural immunity. We developed early treatment. Credit to Operation Warp Speed. We used all the Operation Warp Speed tools, additional drugs. We treated patients with multi-drug protocols at home so they don't go to the ER. So Governor Green never saw the patients we treated because they were successfully treated at home. And the third reason is that the virus mutated to a much milder form. Those things happen concurrently with rollout of the vaccine. The vaccine cannot be falsely credited with saving millions of lives. We can't allow false drug advertising to be put up on a poster behind one of our public servants. We cannot accept that.
So let me quick.
Yeah, crazy work. All right, I got one more with this.
Now, do you know what the mRNA does? It's not a traditional vaccine, is it? Do you realize that? This is the basic operation. Do you know how it works? Because I talked to you about this, that there's DNA contamination in particularly the Pfizer.
The music in the background is a video.
You're aware of that?
Yes. And
Do
the levels
you know at what levels it exceeds the FDA recommended amounts? Again, I'm just kind of laying out why people are outraged, because people haven't been held accountable. This is a history of autism.
Yeah, the history of autism is pretty insane. People say it's always been prevalent. We just detect it better now. I don't buy that argument by any means. Do I think it's purely vaccines? No. I think our food has a lot to do with it. I think pollution probably has a lot to do with it. I think the way that we live our lives, how overall obese we are, we don't really work out as much. I think all that has to come into play. But you cannot deny that as we have added more vaccines to a child's, just schedule of just taking vaccines, autism has increased as well. There's actually a dramatic increase after the year that we started increasing it like drastically. To go from 1 in 150 to 1 in 31 should get people's attention. We should be looking into this. They've already discovered that there is no genetic, or at least so far as we think. I mean, things do change scientifically. That's part of science. But there is no gene for autism. There's no autism gene. So something is causing it in the environment. Something is. Everything needs to be questioned. Nothing should be off the table. Scientifically, that's the right way to approach things.
This is a chart showing from, again, hard to say, but with CDC numbers starting in around 2000.
Wait, hold on. 1 in 2000 practically in the 80s? What changed from the 80s to 2000? I bet you the number of vaccines that was mandated has changed. I guarantee it.
From 1 in 150 to now 1 in 31. According to your testimony, back in 1970, it might have been 1 in 10,000, a little less certain than using CDC numbers, but there's been an explosion.
Also, too, I know that we use, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but I do know that the type of, what is it called, fertilizers, pesticides that we use in our crops has also changed drastically too. And I don't know what year that was either, but I know that is detrimental to our gut biome, and that could have a part to play too. I mean, I'm not exactly sure, but everything needs to be looked at, like I said.
What are we doing about it? Who's asleep at the wheel? Who's trying to determine what caused this? As Dr. Chris Palmer said, when it comes to chronic illness, and I'd throw autism in there, they don't want the root causes discovered. That's why people are outraged. That's why people may put on Twitter things that they may regret later. Let's put up the next chart, number 3. This is probably my most censored chart. Dr. Scott, were you aware that worldwide on VAERS we've reported 38,742 deaths worldwide associated with the COVID vaccine? Were you aware of that carnage?
I'm not aware of that figure in particular, no.
In America, I believe the number 19,000, correct? Again,
But VAERS does not prove causality.
oh, I've heard that time and time again. So let's take a look at the bottom figure down here. Of those 38,000 deaths,
To say that it doesn't prove causality, I 100% understand. But to say that there's no sort of correlation at all, there's not any sort of like validity to that claim is pretty insane. To just blow it off, be like, yeah, it doesn't mean anything. That's stupid. You need to look at this.
yes, 9,252, 23.9%, it's called 24%, occurred on the day of vaccination or within 1 or 2 days. Now, I know that doesn't prove causation, but man, that's a correlation that we ought to look at. Do you know
Exactly.
to what extent VAERS is reported to understate adverse events? Do you have any idea? Have you ever seen any studies on that?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
To what extent does VAERS underreport adverse events? Again, it's a pain to report something to VAERS. Okay, doctors are busy, takes half hour, 45 minutes. A lot of people don't know about it, so the vast majority of adverse events from a vaccine or a drug doesn't get reported to VAERS. So again, they've actually done studies on this. Do you know what percent actually get reported versus what doesn't get reported?
No.
Somewhere between 1 to 10%, correct, Mr. Siri?
No, it's less than 1% according to an AHRQ-funded study of Harvard researchers. And
So if it's less than 1%,
Less than 1%. So times all those numbers by 100.
let's just use U.S. figures. Okay, by the way, what is it?
That would be 380,000 deaths, almost 500,000 deaths worldwide. That's atrocious. I don't know. I don't know why this is so protected. Like, everything should be questioned.
Is it 17,000 or 19,000 U.S. deaths? Yeah, it's close. Okay, it's one of those 17 or 19,000 deaths reported in the U.S. based on VAERS. If we're only recording 1 out of 100, that would mean deaths from the vaccine is somewhere between like 170,000 in the U.S. 170. Again, that's at a that kind of reporting ratio. This is why people are outraged. And what people are denying, they're not denying the potential effectiveness of vaccines. I think most of us think, yeah, they probably work to a certain extent. Okay? What they're denying are the vaccine injuries, the injection injuries. Mr. Scott, how much
Why does his chin keep doing that? Stop doing it.
do you know about the mRNA technology?
A fair amount.
So is the mRNA that's encapsulating the lipid nanoparticle, is that true mRNA?
Is that true mRNA?
I mean, true mRNA, your messenger RNA, degrades very rapidly in the body. Correct?
Correct.
So the mRNA in the injection, is it true mRNA? Does it degrade rapidly in the body? Do you not know?
I do know. Yes, it does. But
It does.
sounds-
No, it does not. It's modified. It's modified mRNA, and it's designed not to degrade. And there are studies that show it sticks around the body. We don't know how long.
He's getting capped on right
The
now.
lipid nanoparticle. Do you realize that it was designed to permeate difficult to permeate barriers, like the blood-brain, like the placenta barrier? Did you know that? Did you believe when Fauci told us that the mRNA shot would stay in the arm? Did you believe that? It's a simple yes or no. I mean, did you believe? Do you believe the COVID injection stayed in everybody's arm? Do you believe that's what happened?
Primarily.
You think so, huh? Were you aware of the Japanese
He's just getting
FOIA
cooked.
of the study that was conducted of biodistribution, where in rats it biodistributed all over the body, accumulated in the adrenal glands, in the ovaries. Because the lipid nanoparticle is designed to permeate difficult to permeate barriers, they knew, the designers knew, and they did a study that would biodistribute all over the body, but our CDC, Anthony Fauci, said it was going to stick in the arm. Now, do you know what the mRNA does? It's not a traditional vaccine, is it? Do you realize that? It's not an attenuated or a dead virus. It's messenger RNA, modified RNA, this encapsulated lipid nanoparticle that distributes all over the body, and when it attaches to a cell, it unloads its mRNA into the cell and turns the cell into a manufacturing cell of a protein that is toxic to it. Do you realize that? Are you aware of that? I mean, just yes or no. I mean, do you know that or not? Because I talk to a lot of doctors who don't have a clue.
I know a fair amount about the mRNA vaccines. Do I know about all of these studies that you're referring to?
This isn't
No,
a study.
there's
This is the basic operation. Do you know how it works? No. It doesn't appear like you do.
Well,
So again, why would we have?
Yeah, that guy is just getting cooked right now. He clearly doesn't know how to respond because you're not. I don't think they're under oath. They might be. I'm not sure, but you can't lie.
Why would we have almost 1.7 million adverse events, dramatically understating it? Why would we have that number of deaths? It's because these little lipid nanoparticles are distributed all over the body. They're attaching to cells. They're turning cells like a heart cell into a manufacturing site for the spike protein, which is toxic, and the body attacks it. It causes inflammation. That's what myocarditis is. And the designers of the injection knew it. And Anthony Fauci knew it, and he lied. That's why somebody like Mr. Rogers, Dr. Rogers, gets so upset.
The thing is, too, like if Fauci really knew that and he lied about it, why don't these people ever get in trouble? Like anybody in politics or just anybody that's higher up like that. It seems like anyone who makes a certain amount of money above a certain threshold, they are just untouchable.
And is outraged by the cover-up of this. That's the problem here. I've got a lot more to say. Have you heard, do you know anything about, for example, the DNA contamination that's being reported? I want to enter into the record the McKernan study, just recently released, without objection. There's nobody to object. Again, have you heard about this, that there's DNA contamination in, particularly the Pfizer? You're aware of that?
Yes, and
Do
the levels
you
are...
know at what levels it exceeds the FDA recommended amounts?
No.
36 to 627 times. The allowed amount is 10 nanograms per dose. And this research paper shows it's 36 to 627 times higher than that. Does that concern you?
Yeah, if that's a legitimate finding, yes, that's not the information that I've been aware of.
No, but you know, it saves 3.2 million lives. No, it didn't. It's impossible. That's entirely possible. Okay, so I got the McKernan study there. How about Dennis Rancourt's study? Are you aware of that one? It's a model.
The other problem with the vaccine, too, is that when it came out, everyone's like, okay, it's going to keep you safe. But then you get the vaccine a few months later, you can still get the virus. You can still pass it. It doesn't make you immune to it. Matter of fact, I know many people who have got the vaccine still got COVID. It didn't matter. Matter of fact, there was a study showing that if you got the vaccine, you're actually more susceptible to get it after 3 months than someone who didn't get the vaccine at all.
No.
But it's a model of, I think, 17 equatorial and south hemisphere countries whose excess all-cause mortality was highly correlated to the uptake in the vaccine. So based off that study, their data, he estimates 17 million people died of the COVID injection. 17 million.
God damn.
I don't know. It's a model. It's like the 154 million. It's like the 3.2 million. It's like the 2.5 million. It's all those numbers that are confidently spewed. This study gets no reaction.
That's the sad part. I don't think it's that high. That would be pretty insane. I mean, hopefully it's not. I mean, that'd be wild. But I do know during that time, if you had got COVID, but you got hit by a car and you died, hospitals were more apt to say, like, you died from COVID. I'm not saying like it was that extreme, but I mean, in some cases it supposedly was, because hospitals got money based on the amount of COVID patients they had that died from COVID. Like they had like some COVID funds or something like that. Anyways, I thought this was crazy, and I had to share this.
I've entered that in the record.
It's all on record now. Anyways, I will catch y'all.